highways of North America, grinning, pining for the next fix, clutching the gun in the side pocket and looking back into the cab. A rolling death and torture dungeon sits just behind chains on the ground, wrapped around the metal, protruding pole. Hooks and pokers neatly placed on the wall, all awaiting for the next victim. Turning back to the road, the dial gets turned up as the blistering guitars of Freebird's solo blast to cover up the wails from the hitchhiker picked up not just a few miles back. Good morning and welcome to the Black Cat Report in episode 112. I am Joey, and with me is our most esteemed co-host and number one consumer of whatchamacallit bars, Gil.
Hello, and sadly I've been overtaken recently on consuming whatchamacallit bars. I'm not the number one consumer anymore. But today we are joined by the new number one consumer, Dada, who's walking up the stairs into the studio right now. You can't see him, unless you're a Patreon member.
Yeah, not yet, but you should be. Well, we're going to skip all the things today and get straight into the episode because, well, we can. But we do want to introduce two very special guests that are with us today. Gil and I's co-host on the Beer, Booze, and Boogeyman podcast, as well as his other podcast, Life Before 6 Feet, and he also runs Spooky 507. And he also runs 507 Spooky South with his wife, Kelly. Damion!
What's up, guys?
Mm-hmm. I also want to welcome our second special guest today, who runs the podcast, which is about to release, Bloodlines and Bloodshed, Brittany.
Woo! Hello.
We're super excited to have you guys with us. We're going to do fun thing. We'll let you talk about the podcast, I guess, after we get done with the episode or after we get done with the script, and you guys can let us know and where to find your stuff. Sound good?
Right on, right on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Thank y'all for coming on.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming on. We can't wait. We're all trying to still recover from, most of us are trying to recover from last night and Beer, Booze, and Boogeyman episode, which I did not make it through. So
He did not.
But you can go to Beer, Booze, and Boogeyman, the dedicated YouTube channel now, and watch all 5.5 hours of it, or just put it on to like 4x speed and watch Joey change clothes throughout the evening from let's see, Men in Black, and then he was a sailor, and then or before that he was wearing he was in some sort of Clint Eastwood sort of thing, and then his screen went black because he had blacked out, and then
literally, yes, literally.
When he did come back on, you could just watch this progress throughout the evening. I might make a highlights reel of just speeding through everything.
You slowly see the drunk
episode.
progression. Yeah, the drunk progression of me. Well, I wanted to get some donations, help spur some donations by getting wasted, and it definitely did. And what was funny was when a few of the people I had spurred to try to get and listen to the episode and watch, they tuned in after I had already, I guess let's just say logged off for the moment, for the night, for the evening. Even though I did listen in my headphone while I was laying on the bed for a good hour after I logged off. So that was funny. Yeah. So I heard most of the episode.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so it was all good.
We're there in spirits.
In spirits, for sure. Well, now.
Thank you. You guys got it. I like these folks.
Oh.
Well, now we're going to get into some of the most Kellogg's Snap Crackle. Reread that. Sorry if I reread it. Just I'm just gonna reread stuff if I mess up. So just bear with me. Now, we're going to get into some of the most Kellogg's Snap Crackle Pop Lucky Charms Captain Crunch on Wheels subject we have done in a while. A trucker serial killer. Because cereal? Yep. Gotta make jokes here. I have to explain them sometimes or Gil just stares at me. these men.
I
and
was
women,
staring because I got it.
Yeah. And yeah, he hated it, and he hated it.
Hold on. This is.
For sure.
There we go.
Okay.
All right.
Well, these men and women are roaming our roads every day, keeping our economy in line and stores stocked. Today, we're going to look into the trucker serial killer Robert Ben Rhoades. Which let's be fair, he's a serial killer and his last name is Rhoades. He's a trucker serial killer with the last name Rhoades.
Yeah.
For sure.
This is true.
It just writes itself. But that's low-hanging fruit.
Men-
We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that.
Meant to be, which is why
Meant
my
to be,
last
yeah.
name is Bentley.
Mm-hmm. He doesn't drive a Bentley, but he's hoping that he's going to.
I'm fucking waiting. Goddamn.
Yeah.
I really
for
want
that
some
money to come in.
some random old like British relative who's just been locked up in a castle like "Arr!" for like the past 75 years, just gonna croak, and then one day a helicopter's gonna fucking fly into my front yard and be like, "You're the last remaining heir," and I'd be like, "Bye, bitches," and just like outro. Like,
Yep. Well, the sources are going to be listed in the show notes, so if you want to take a look through the show notes.
hell
Let's
yeah.
get into it. Born just after the end of World War II on November 22nd, 1945, in Council Bluffs, Iowa, Rhoades' father was a soldier in the U.S. Army and stationed in West Germany during the Cold War years. So he was born. Then Robert Rhoades was born right after the World War. So it's kind of going to West Germany, and let me reread that stuff. It didn't make sense. My bad. Robert Rhoades was born. Sorry, my head's a little. No.
Take a
Robert
second to
Rhoades.
rewrite it real quick if you want.
Yeah. No, I'm. It's my.
Damn it.
I
Okay, I'll wait
rewrote
to
it in
refill
my
my
head.
coffee. Go ahead.
Fancy.
Fancy man.
Mm-hmm.
I was just saying it was mutual. That's all.
For sure. Yeah. Robert Rhoades was born just after the end of World War II on November 22nd, 1945, in Council Bluffs, Iowa. Rhoades' father was a soldier in the U.S. Army and was stationed in West Germany during the Cold War years. So he was basically raised by his mother, who stayed at home in the U.S. with him just about until elementary school, right? So when his father returned back to the U.S., he got a job as a firefighter. Now, we know from other serial killers we have researched, there have been a good amount of them who have had family troubles that have at least greased the wheels of getting them into a serial killer life, right? Like Richard Ramirez with his cousin Miguel, Pedro Lopez with his older sisters and brothers, Pedro Ladunya with other siblings who raped him for killing a pregnant dog, all these things that kind of happened. Do you remember those?
I seem to have started to put together a small trend. The one thing I can't put together is any time that somebody just had a normal childhood.
Right? What is that? What is normal childhood?
Yeah.
Well,
This episode's sponsored by, just kidding, we're not sponsored by BetterHelp. But go on.
well,
Don't get it
for
for
Robert.
you, get it for the kids, all right?
all for the kids. Well, for Robert, and all that we know, he did not have anything happen to him. He had not much trauma happen besides the normal childhood problems. Well, as he progressed into his late teens, Robert was arrested for tampering with a vehicle at age 16 in 1961. And then at 17, he was arrested for public fighting.
I just picture him cop catches him yellow-handed as he's putting a banana in the exhaust of a car. And it's started his life of crime.
Mm-hmm. And then he said something along the lines of, "Now that was appealing."
I'll appeal this.
We're going to court. Judge who's just a banana. Just a banana. It's just like, where are we even going with this courtroom? I declare a mistrial.
I'm sorry, I might be in the wrong room. I was looking for Your honorable pineapple. He's out. I'm stepping in today. Oh no.
Oh no. And then
He's had a problem with this fruit-related justice system.
Yeah. Frank Oldfield kicks down the door and he's like, I know that there's a banana crime happening. I'm here.
Chiquita Banana, her lady, is just the fucking the bailiff.
Oh God.
Oh
You're going to
God.
jail. Yeah, we love it here.
When your judge looks like this, you're definitely going to jail.
That is now going to be a meme. It's just a banana behind the with the gavel.
Wig.
You have the wig and a gavel. What?
I love fruit court.
Instead of night court. Oh man.
It's cocktail fruit court. Sponsored by Dole.
Yep. Well, to be fair, he didn't get doled out any sentences. But none of these things sound to me like they add into the life of a serial killer. It's just normal, everyday things. It just seems like, especially at this time, a young teen being a young teen. It just seems like, especially at this time, it's a young teen being a young teen. Nothing seems super out of ordinary. He was noted as being just a little socially awkward, but also kept up with activities like French club, wrestling, and choir, so he still did a bunch of stuff, you know?
Gil's fucking dying.
Yeah, he's thinking about the banana court.
French club is just a baguette.
he just has a baguette. Yeah.
Oh God. This is how I prepare myself mentally for what's gonna come up.
Yes, we got to, because it's going to get bad.
No.
There's some horrible stuff.
Building a pillow factory to fall on later, right now.
Yeah. Well, so far, there was no mention of killing animals or anything like that. But in 1964, Ben graduated from high school and subsequently joined the Marine Corps. I imagine he wanted to follow along the lines of his dad because his dad was in the war. You know, his dad was in the Army, so he wanted to go back into the armed services. Well,
His dad was
he
Chef
did this.
Boyardee.
Gil, you dying.
It's been a
buddy.
long week, y'all.
Yeah.
Okay. Became a Marine.
Well, I imagine he wanted to follow in line with his dad, join the armed services. But this was right in the middle of the Vietnam War. Well, in that same year, in 1964, Rhoades' dad, who was a firefighter at this time, was arrested and charged with molesting a 12-year-old girl.
Oh.
And then he committed suicide while waiting the trial while he was in jail. Made a huge mark and a change in behavior for Ben Rhoades, because not too long after that, he was dishonorably discharged from the Marines for his part in a robbery. Rhoades then tried his hand at college, but subsequently dropped out. He then tried to become a police officer, but he was rejected because of the dishonorable discharge from the Marines. They were like, we have some standards. You can't come in here.
It's just the system has just degraded so much over the
Well, you know,
as
a
a
lot of
whole.
people went into Vietnam, which is weird. You know, a lot of people went into Vietnam. Like, most serial killers went into Vietnam, too, but they didn't do
I mean-
anything. They didn't.
But that was just everybody at the time. There was like an
True, yeah.
active
If you were
draft going on. Like it was just everybody was getting pulled in.
True,
But-
but he actually volunteered. He
Yeah,
volunteered
that's-
before.
I feel
or
like
to
that's-
go in the middle of it.
That's how, honestly, hey, FBI, know you're listening. Hope you're doing well. Just kidding. Fuck you. But the point is, if you're looking for a serial killer, add this to your profile. Just go through the list of 30 people who volunteered during the draft. probably there.
During
I'm just gonna
Vietnam.
assume.
Yep. Yeah.
Bloodshed, Bloodlines, y'all. Would you agree? Like, every time it's always like that one guy, like Timothy McVeigh, this dude, probably some other people. Every time it's always like the one guy who's like, I'm gonna volunteer for this, while everybody else is like, so Canada, 300 miles away. Like, it's just like, I don't know. It's a short list.
Also, you guys feel free to jump in too while I'm talking.
Yeah, please.
Like if you, you can interrupt me. Gil does it all the time. It's kind of how it works, and we'll just, if need be, we can edit it. If you edit it out, if it's not doesn't fit, or you can just keep going and it'll fit in perfectly, and we'll cut me, and then I'll restart. So
I edit
feel free to hop in.
90% of what I say out of the show.
Yeah.
So
the more the better. That's kind of how we deal with it.
Hop
we
in.
can edit it out later. Yep. Well, throughout his 20s, he went through 2 marriages and he couldn't hold down a job, right? So he was just rolling through people and rolling. Imagine how many people he was dating at the time. And I actually saw a picture of this guy while he was younger, and I was like, guy's not too bad looking guy for a trucker, you know, for later on in years trucker. If you saw pictures, he didn't look too bad. Gil saw the picture too. It was the one with the that I sent you, with the picture of the old guy side by side with the young guy, and like the he had black leather suspenders on.
I don't remember.
Oh,
Nope.
well, yeah. But the picture of the old guy who was arrested, looked very rough.
The life as a trucker serial killer didn't treat him well.
Him. Him well. Not others. Well, in the late
my job.
1970s.
Lost my banana. Got nothing.
Got nothing left.
Got nothing left to lose. It's time that I hit these roads.
Speaking of that, in the late 1970s, he would find his job. He got a job that fit him perfectly. He became a truck driver, hence part of the name trucker serial killer that we're doing today, right?
Do truck drivers ever find a job, or do they just constantly chase one? I don't know what that. Why did you?
We need the VCR applause.
Oh. Let me find it here. All right.
You don't have to do it to yourself. Yep.
No, it's okay. I deserve this.
Yeah. Well, he found a job that fit him perfectly. He became a truck driver. Well, when he turned 41, so this is a few years later, making a little jump because he's just been driving for a bit. In 1985, he got married for the third time. Third time's a charm. To Deborah. But this was not all sunshine and rainbows. Go figure. In the marriage, Ben would sexually abuse her, and also he would go out to swingers clubs, like basically without her consent. He literally would like, you're coming with me. He would drag her along to swingers clubs, and she's like, I'm not okay with this. And he's like, no, you're coming with me.
I thought you said this was a playground. Oh, God!
But from what it seemed, was carrying along what his father had unknowingly taught him, that consent was not necessary. So, Rhoades now seemingly building his best life, which for a serial killer, this is probably his best life, in his 40s with his new job and his new wife. He was gone most of the time, as a trucker would be, and it's the roads that he would terrorize. Not the people, just the roads. I'm kidding. He also would terrorize the people. He would terrorize the roads. Well, now, Gil, I don't need to tell you how unsafe hitchhiking is, do I?
I mean, considering you've never hitchhiked, no.
No, because you can tell everybody else. You can tell how unsafe it is.
Yeah, I hitchhiked for years. Honestly, if you just have it, you just need to be fucking smart. Don't be an idiot. Don't don't hitchhike at night. But no, I met a lot of great people and had a great time. I only had maybe for over the course of a year, like I probably hitchhiked actual individual trips like at least a good 50, 60 times across the country, and only 2 or 3 weird or kind of off incidences. I met a lot of fucking great people. Had a lot of people ask me if I would sell them drugs, and I was just like, no, I don't have anything. And then they would ask if I wanted to buy drugs, and I'm like, no, I don't have anything.
Then you're just like, wait, weren't you asking me to sell you drugs? Why are you trying to sell me drugs? You're just like, this doesn't make sense.
Thank you so much for jogging my memory. We're going on a side quest.
Do it.
The first time I came to Asheville, North Carolina, where I live, meow. First time I came to North Carolina, specifically Asheville, where I live now. I was going to this thing called the Firefly Festival, or Firefly. I think it was the Firefly Festival, and it was like an outdoors, like wild crafting, survival, kind of, I don't know, like living on the land kind of massive thing out on the edge of town. Like it was a good 30, 40 miles away from Asheville proper. And was there for like a week or something like that. I don't remember how many days. Learned a bunch of cool shit, did a bunch of cool things, yada, yada, yada. And then had to hitchhike from there back to Asheville. And this was 40, 45-minute drive. My partner and I at the time, we were like trying to hitchhike out of town. We gotten harassed by cops. The sign literally said, we were in front of a Rite Aid. The sign literally said, Asheville, North Carolina on it. And the cops like 15 cops surrounded us in this like Rite Aid parking lot. It was the middle of the day, and we were just like, what the fuck? It's not illegal to hitchhike there. And they're like, we got some reports that some people were soliciting for money. And I was like, our sign clearly says Asheville, North Carolina. And the cop, I'm not shitting you, replied, not everybody's literate around here.
Wow.
And I was like, that's still not my fault. And then they searched us. He's like, you got any weapons? I'm like, I'm hitchhiking and I've been living in the woods. I have knives and shit in my backpack. Of course I have weapons. And he's like, oh, that's fine. And I was like, what are you looking for right now? I was so confused.
Yeah.
Well, 2 seconds after that incident, a large picture Harry and the Hendersons. We all had to, we've all seen that, right?
Mm-hmm.
The fucking Woody style station wagon pulls into this Rite Aid parking lot. Second the cops are about to leave. This motherfucker, whose name was yes, it was Grizzly. This guy introduced himself as Grizzly. Super old man. Maybe? You know? But anyways, so Grizzly walked up. This motherfucker sounded exactly like Boomhauer. I'm not shitting you. I rode with this man for 45, 55 minutes. My partner in the back seat, me in the front, right? I was trying to understand what the fuck he was saying for 45 minutes. And I did pick out some pieces. So anyways, pulls up and he's like, hey man, y'all, daggone man, y'all don't come, throw it right on the back. And I was like, oh, I was like, all right. And we tossed it in. We were kind of shaken up by the cops being there, so we just kind of threw it in there. He was basically just like, I'm getting you the fuck away from the cops, right? And we were like, thank you, dude, because we're not doing anything wrong right now. This is getting awkward, right? He's like, man, there was cops around here, man. Some good, man. Most of them bad, blah, 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 blah. And we just started driving, and I was like, And this dude, all I could pick apart from the story, trust me, this makes sense eventually. All I could pick apart from the story that he was telling was that he had an Indian landlord who started an underground casino in his basement. And he was constantly getting harassed by the police, and so he hated them. So when he saw us, he's like, hey, man, fuck them, man. And I was just like, okay. And I'm not shitting you, at every fucking light. Hey, man, y'all want to go back to my house, get high? And I was like, no,
No, thank you.
we're good. He's like, yeah, man, whatever you want to do, man. Next light. God, sure you don't want to come over to my house, get high? And I was like, no, we're good, bud. This guy's like 65, 75 years old, you know, like very appearance-wise non-threatening and everything. Yeah, I mean, I live right down the road. Y'all just want to go get high. And I was like, nah, dude, we got to get back to Asheville. Oh, no, dang on, man. It was about to... We eventually get to Asheville, or where he drops us off right outside of Asheville. And this is the first time that I'm actually seeing his trunk, the large back of his trunk. And two things happened, which were incredible. The best bumper sticker I've ever seen in my fucking life, and me realizing that we were almost murdered. By the time I get out and come around, he had already had the back of the station, the Woody, the station wagon open, the Woody. And so it was like lifted up, grab our giant ass backpacks out of it. And that's when I noticed there was just 2 shovels in the back and a bunch of dirt and contractor bags and bleach.
Oh, wow.
Damn.
That's all he had in the back of this car. And I was like, oh, but then when he closed it, the most incredible sight in the world. It was probably how Mary felt when God came down to talk to her about like, hey, sorry about last night. But he closed the lid, or closed the trunk. And the bumper sticker said, "Friends do not let friends drive bulldozers ripped on acid." And if anybody can find that bumper sticker, please mail it to us. But yeah, that was grisly, and that was maybe one of the 2 times I had something awkward. But I was almost killed by a grizzly. Well, there was a meth head in Reading too, but that's just normal for Reading. That's a different tale. And that's my story. So that's all getting cut out. That's a Patreon exclusive.
No, I mean, we're about to get into another sign, another bumper sticker that might be close to that. That's normally on stuff. Well, Gil, thank you for telling us how unsafe hitchhiking is. So now
It's really not. Just don't be an idiot.
Yeah.
It's like walking around a city at night. Just don't be stupid. You're okay.
Well, hitchhiking is a little safer now than it used to be in the 70s and 80s, to be fair. I bet. Yeah, it's a little safer. Seems like. To me. No, I don't know.
You're hitting on like 2 years, 3 years of my life. So
yeah. Looking from the
this
outside.
is not a short conversation. We're extending this.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Well, it's a little safer now because the implementation. Well, it's a little safer now because the implementation of the ELDs in all trucks, as well as the GPSs, has made it a little bit easier to catch serial killers and people who commit crimes on the roads. Except for sex trafficking, it doesn't seem like they catch those people a lot with all the new stuff. But most of those people are staying off roads and not using ELDs or, GPS.
And what is an ELD?
Electronic logging device. It was put into it was put into trucks so that they can monitor people's hours so that they're not driving over 10 hours at a time and make sure that they have to rest for a certain period, which I know some truckers hate it, some truckers love it, but it helps because it makes sure that a lot of them aren't falling off the road driving, killing people, and it just makes it a little safer at least. And it also makes it safer for businesses to track hours, which I think is one of the things they're really got put in and mentioned for. Well,
I heard that too.
Okay, was that the dog or was that something else?
Sound like
we
somebody
got
crying to
ghosts.
me. Sound like a kid crying.
I'm telling you, shit happens here when like mom and them is not here.
Wake up, bro.
Anyway,
Well, for listeners, they had no clue that there was a little kid in the room. And so all they're it's like, dude, shit happens when mom's not around. Little boy's voice, wake up, bro.
yeah. Though,
Oh,
I will still say a lot of this happens, and the FBI definitely has been working on ways to catch more of these serial killers. Well, throughout the late 1970s and 1980s, Robert Rhoades was driving the American roads and highways, delivering goods, which we'll find out about later. He was torturing, raping, and murdering women, obviously. He was doing that at those times. Well, now, because it is very hard to catch a trucker serial killer at this time, it was not actually known how many people Robert actually killed. And he didn't really confess to a list of people that he killed as well. Well, in 1990, the world was about to cash... in 1990, the world was about to cash in for Robert Rhoades. Ooh, that's not right. Crash in was about to... What did I even write? About to...
In 1990, Robert Rhoades was about to ripen. Oh, come on. Fine. Fine.
Well, in 1990, the world was about to find out about Robert Rhoades. In February of 1990, a young woman flagged down a passing motorist on the highway and said she was taken by a truck driver and kept hostage for 2 weeks. She also had a rope around her neck like a dog leash.
oh shit.
And she was running down the highway. Yeah. Well, the motorist called the police, and the police took the young girl, which right after this happened, the police took the young girl around Houston, Texas to look for the truck. Like literally a day, maybe not even a day
that
after
it?
this happened.
No.
Yeah.
Is that it? No. Is that it? No. Is that it? No.
And for sure, this girl had
14
so much
hours
trauma.
later,
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
all right, next road. Is that it? No.
Yeah. Like Jesus. And this,
What did
with-
that look like in in 1990? Like they weren't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like this.
I imagine-
they just had them in a lineup with like the measurements in the background.
Yeah.
Optimus Prime is there.
I was gonna make a joke about Optimus Prime being there. You beat me to it. Honestly, they probably just took her to the truck stops, the notable truck stops around the area, and where they knew that trucks
Yeah.
were. You know, that's what I imagine.
But it's Houston. Do you know how many fucking truck stops there are?
Houston is huge. Yeah,
It's
yeah,
massive.
yeah. What's crazy is they actually found the truck.
Oh wow.
And the girl ID'd the truck. She was like, that's the truck. And Robert Rhoades was in the truck as well. But
Shit.
because she was so terrified, they brought them together and like she walked up to him and he was there. She couldn't even look at him. So she said, that's not the person. She was quoted after that as saying, when they went back to talk to her, like they took her away and they couldn't get anything. So basically they said, like, we can't do anything. Like, why did you say that wasn't the person? And even thinking that it was, and she was like, well, quote, I don't see any good in filing charges. It's just going to be my word against his. If there was any evidence, I would file. I would file charges and sue him. But because she couldn't face him and she didn't think it would do any good, he was free for a little bit longer.
That's
Well-
fucked up too, because like the police like clearly did show intent to believe her.
Yes, for sure.
Like that's a lot of truck pointing that they went through to get to that stage and things. Like they spent a long ass time taking her around and actually putting an effort into this. And I'm not blaming her at all.
No,
That like
for sure.
honestly, that just goes to show like how much a situation like that will completely devastate and fuck you up. Like honestly, I mean it, self-esteem wise, like you're just like, every possible area of the spectrum, it fucks you up. You know,
Just 2
and like
weeks,
even at a
you
point
know?
where everybody is actually supportive around you, you can't see it and get over those demons. You know.
Yeah. And
I don't know.
2 weeks of that is a lot. And yeah,
Yeah.
it destroyed her.
Jesus
Well,
Christ, man.
In April of 1990, the same year, Rhoades was stopped on the side of the road with his hazard lights on. And this seemingly innocuous act would be the reason he was caught. A state trooper pulled over behind the truck to see if the trucker was all right. You know, he's just like, okay, the hazard lights are on. There wasn't any of those like triangle cones either. So state trooper was like, this is a little weird. That's, you know, normally as a trucker stopping beside, you're supposed to have the triangle cone showing that somebody's over there. And what he found in the truck would horrify him. As the state trooper walked up to the truck, he saw some lights on in the back of the truck. So the sleeper cab in the back of the truck, basically. Almost.
Disco ball.
Well,
He's like,
when he's like, something is going on back there. Well, when he shined his flashlight into the truck, he saw a woman chained up in the sleeper part of the cab with a horse bit in her mouth.
Oh,
Like one of those little things that stops, you know. But she was screaming too. Like she was screaming. And at that moment he shined and saw her, Rhoades popped out of the darkness in the cab, came out of it super calm. Like just hopped down, was talking to the police officer, put his hands against the truck, and Rhoades said, "It's okay. We're consenting adults." No. The officer could still hear the screaming coming from the woman, and he put Rhoades in handcuffs and put him in the police car. The trooper went back to the woman and freed her from the chains and sat her on the ground, and he put a blanket around her he's like, "It's all right now," he said. You can, like, it's going to be fine. Like, the police are here to take care of this. Well, the trooper went back to the car, and just as he got back to the car, Rhoades had taken the handcuffs off and was ready to jump out of the back of the police car because he had a key for handcuffs that he used, and he took it off and was just about to jump. And the state trooper, I watched an interview of him, he said, if I had not gone back to the police car that minute, he would have escaped and been gone, and we wouldn't have found him for a while. And so, luck that he went back at that time. Well, lots of evidence was taken from his car, including pictures, a written log, and a gun that Rhoades had on him at the moment of the arrest. Rhoades was questioned, he was jailed, and he was sentenced to 6 years for abduction and rape of the victim. He submitted a guilty plea because he didn't want to go to trial. Only 6 years for the abduction and rape of the victim. This is the horrible thing about this, right?
I'm sorry, what state was this in?
Yeah.
Who are we blaming?
This is Texas.
Ah,
He was in
okay, yeah, that
Houston.
makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, that tracks. That's so fucked up, dude.
Actually, give me 1 second. I want to make sure I'm right on that. Sorry. I have to make sure that is actually correct, that he was in Texas when he got arrested the first time.
Sounds like some Arkansas ass law. I don't know.
It was either Texas or Arizona.
Arizona, that makes sense too.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Any of those states.
He was in Casa Grande, Arizona, near Interstate 10. So he was in Arizona, kind of going on through his way through Texas. So I imagine he picked the girl up in Texas.
Give me 2 seconds.
Yep. Yeah. Again, you guys feel free to like hop in and be like, this is horrible, or make a joke or something, you know. If you want,
I'm getting too tuned in listening to you talk.
I know.
It's like I'm listening to a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think I have heard about this case before. It's starting to sound kind of familiar.
Yeah, it sounds familiar to me too. What?
What do you call a pig that does karate?
What?
A pork chop.
I hope he knows it's going in the episode. That's beautiful. Gil, you just missed the great joke to release the tension.
What happened?
Yes, tell it again. He has to tell it again.
You have to tell me again.
What do you call a pig that does karate?
I don't know.
A pork chop.
Nice.
That's gonna be a nice tension builder. We'll put that in there somewhere.
Oh, pork chop. Classic.
It says something about drugs, though.
That's good, buddy.
Not the first thing I thought of.
All right, all good to go, guys.
Y'all, chime in more. Y'all
That's
too
what I was telling them
meditative.
too, yeah.
People at home can't see you, so they
They
just
don't
don't
know
know
you're
you're there.
Well, like I told
Make
Joey,
yourself known.
like I just told Joey, second, so it's like I'm listening to the episode, so I'm just zoning in on listening.
Yeah.
Every time I ramble on and I interrupt, just make a comment. Just be like, "That was stupid, Gil," or something. I don't know. Anything. Attack.
Yeah.
Have at me, bros.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Alrighty. All right, hopping back in it. Well, lots of evidence was taken from his car, including pictures, a written log, and a gun that Rhoades had on him at the moment of arrest. Rhoades was questioned, jailed, and sentenced to 6 years for the abduction and rape of the victim after he submitted a guilty plea. 6 years is nothing.
No,
He
not
got
at
more
all.
time.
Like anything.
It's nothing. But
That's
you're
not
gonna
shit.
be
He got
mad
more time
when
for
you-
the banana and the exhaust when he was little than this. Like,
Oh,
this is
actually, probably.
It's like a slap on the wrist with a fucking ruler, dude.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, it was good they got him, though. This is a good thing
Yeah.
because he was not
Well,
on
yeah.
the streets. Well, throughout his time he was in
You mean-
jail, they...
the roads.
Nah.
Eh?
Well, throughout his time in jail, they found photos of young girls after they raided his house and started looking into the missing persons around the United States. So basically, they were like, something's happening here. And the FBI was like, we got to start looking into everybody that is missing. You know, this could be connected. This guy, you know, he'd already been looked into even before this. He almost got caught for the abduction of somebody, like we just heard, that went running down the road. So they're kind of like, this guy's probably done this more than once. So, and the FBI Behavioral Sciences Unit was already starting to be like, we need to start looking into truckers doing this stuff because this was like the 90s, you know, getting into the 90s. So they're like, we need to really...
Before that revolutionary thought, they were just like, so it seems all these murders are centered around truck stops. We're going to have to put all the gas station attendants under investigation. These flighty motherfuckers going up and down the coast, making us wait forever in line. I know you're behind it.
Mm-hmm.
What if it's the truckers? No, that can't be it.
That's not true. They're the lifeblood of America. They'll never do that. Well, in just 4 years, Rhoades was due to come out of jail on parole. He didn't even serve all 6.
God damn.
What the
He's gonna
fuck?
serve 4 years for abduction and rape. Though, luckily, he was about to be connected to a murder, and not a moment too soon. Well, so we're gonna time travel back to talk about the other stuff that happened. So, he's in jail.
It's
1994.
time travel time, baby.
Hell yeah!
Uh,
Never get rid of time travel. Well,
I don't know. That's
And-
right here in the lineup.
yep. In September 1990, a body was found in a barn in Greenville, Illinois. The body was of Regina Walters. She was a 14-year-old girl who ran away from home in February of that year with her boyfriend, Ricky Lee Jones.
He sounds like a serial killer.
The interesting thing about this is that the barn itself was volunteered to be burned down to train firefighters in putting out fires. And on the last inspection, the day before it was supposed to happen, they found Regina's body. So it was almost not going to be found.
Damn.
That
What
is
about the
such a-
boyfriend? Where was he at?
Yeah.
We will talk about him in a minute. He wasn't with them.
Okay.
Because it's part of
Okay.
his MO. It's part of Rhoades' MO of like how he dealt with people.
Mm.
Well,
That is such a. I feel like that's like some insider knowledge, though. Like he knew that that fucking barn was going to be burned
Mhm.
down, or he
could
knew
have,
that
yeah.
that barn was suicidal. because apparently it volunteered to be burned down, and that's just
yeah. I wonder
again
if they actually looked
better
into
help.
the-
Get it for your
Yeah, better help. I wonder if
get
they
it for
actually
your
looked at the
infrastructure.
farmer. I wonder if they actually looked at the farmer and were trying to see if he was maybe the murderer, because it wasn't until 4 years after that they started being like, maybe it was this guy, you know? So
Yeah.
they didn't have any they couldn't find out the person that was murdering them, or like they didn't find the killer basically, so they had to look elsewhere. And finally the FBI was the one that came in and were like, hey, you know, this is probably the killer. They found evidence that her body was tortured and that she was strangled to death. She was also raped like the other people that have been on the road. The FBI made the connection between the two because the photographs they found in the raid of the house had Regina in it.
Oh.
So all of the Polaroids that they had, they didn't know who these people were. And there's a bunch of pictures. They said they found hundreds of pictures. And they haven't been able to ID these people, too. So most of them. Well, the pictures were even more harrowing because they showed her throughout time with bruises on her body changing color. So they knew that she had been held for a long while. And then they showed the day of her death, her walking up to the barn where they found her body. So it's basically like time traveling moments, and they just saw her all the way up, and they recognized the barn because once they got and started searching the barn, they looked at the pictures and were like, this is the same barn with Regina in them. And so they like, this is the killer. We know it's him.
What a sick freak to want to take pictures. And also how dumb. Like, haven't people realized by now, like, that's just going to get them caught in the long run? Photographic evidence.
Yeah. I imagine it's probably more the game for them.
Yeah.
The thrill, you know,
like a
of
trophy.
being like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
but, like-
trophy. Yeah.
Also, like, does nobody notice this person just randomly stopping by on the semi side of the road, just there for weeks, and just walks up and just starts snapping photos outside of the barn in the middle of the day?
Right?
And then nobody decides to go look in the barn for just years?
I
That's another
imagine it's
thing,
on a
too.
I imagine it's on a huge piece of land. Yeah, because she was there for about 6 months. So when I first saw that, it was like she was found under a bunch
That
of
makes
hay.
sense, yeah.
She found under a bunch of hay, and I was like, wouldn't a farmer who was like had hay and was like had that stuff, wouldn't he go look at this stuff? But then I was like, honestly, it was probably a huge piece of land. If he was volunteering the barn to be burned down, it was probably a little decrepit. It probably wasn't going there. And I don't even go into my shed that's connected on the side of my house. I haven't been in that thing in 6 months. So it's like, I wouldn't go looking in a barn that's like
So
probably
if you're
a couple
trying to
acres away.
stalk, if you're trying to stalk Joey, that's a great place for you to live in the meantime.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, as you asked, where was Ricky's body? Where was Ricky?
Where was Ricky's body?
They found part of his body, his skeleton, near Harleton, Texas, in May of that year. So they actually found him before they found her body, because it was, I feel like it was closer to where they were missing. And so they kind of were searching around. They found part of his body. They didn't find all of it. So
What did they find?
they just found his skeleton, part of his skeleton, which is what we'll find out.
How
he
were they-
is, Go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
How did they identify him through his skeleton?
They use dental. Yeah, dental records.
Yeah, because this is up in the 90s at that point. That makes sense.
Yeah, they
I
had
was
all
just
that.
like, they're just like, that rib bone looks familiar.
Yeah, yeah.
Holding up a photo of Ricky, looking at the rib bone.
I know that
Damn,
one.
they're
from
good.
somewhere. Yeah.
Like, so glad we hired Superman. It's just X-ray vision.
Yeah. Well, the theory is that Rhoades picked them both up and not too long after shot Ricky in the head and dumped him off, as there were bullets in the skull when they found some of his remains, and then chained up Regina in the back and tortured and raped her for about 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah. Horrible. Well, as I said earlier, connecting the evidence happened just in time because he was literally about to get out of jail. And again, he was backed in a corner, so he pled guilty to Regina's murder as they could not connect Ricky to him with evidence. So he
He
went
was
to the
sentenced to
judge.
2 weeks.
Yeah, 2 weeks. Well, this is the scary part, too. So he went up to the judge, and while he was saying his plea of guilty, Your Honor, he had the biggest smile across his face, like he was indulging in it, almost laughing on the inside like he was enjoying every moment of the fame because the courtrooms were packed. People were like, this guy's a serial killer. We know he did it, even though he is literally only on trial for one person's murder. People, the FBI and people knew that he was a serial killer.
That I don't know where this is going, but that sounds like a setup to get his case like pretty much thrown out.
Mm-hmm.
If all of this other shit's been like released to the public, it's already out there, it's already putting up everything. If he had a lawyer, even if it was one of those lawyers with like the incredibly large pants that are always in the memes that are like, if your lawyer dresses like this, you're definitely going to prison.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Let's see where this goes.
Yeah. Well, he pled guilty, so he was kind of like, he wanted to, I think he wanted to hide it under the rug and make sure nobody started looking into other things he was doing, which is kind of how we figured it. Well, he was sentenced to prison and he was locked away.
Mm-hmm.
You think this is the end?
Mm-mm.
It's not. Because the FBI was like, I think he's guilty of other murders. So they started looking into other murders that were along the roads. And they're like, this guy's MO basically says that he killed other people and did other things. So we're going to do another time travel back to look into some other parts
It's time travel time, baby.
Hell yeah.
We need like visual signals or something.
Mm-hmm.
Visual
I'll do it next
cues.
time. Sorry. I'll
No,
I'll
you're
send you
good.
a-
We don't
a
have
cue
one
chart.
yet. Like
Yeah.
TT. I don't know.
Yeah.
Or
Well,
TTT. Wait, no.
Time
Baby. I
travel.
know.
TTB. In late 1989, Patricia Walsh and Douglas Zykowski married and decided to sell everything off and head across country to the East Coast. Right after they left for the road, they were never heard from again. And in October 1990, deer hunters found skeletal remains of Patricia Walsh in Millard County, Utah. She was actually not ID'd until 2003 when they ID'd her dental x-rays. This is a long time. And this is why they didn't attribute the bodies to him. Well, Douglas's body was actually found in 1990 and early 1990, and he was able to be ID'd in 1992. So she was 2003, he was 1992. And none of the bodies, obviously they're skeletal remains, most of them had any ID on them. He took the ID, threw them up, burned them out, something like that, The FBI agent who was investigating this in 2003, trying to connect the bodies to Rhoades, contacted the Texas police and got them to describe the bullets to him. They matched the bullets that were found in and around Patricia Walsh and Douglas Zykowski. So this is 2003. They're going back to try to get this guy because he had been in jail for about 11 years-ish at this time, and they were saying that he's going to get out soon again, which is like, even though he was convicted of murder, they were like, he's going to get out again, and we know it.
He had Judge Pineapple that time. Damion, we're going to run through a little skit here. I'm the FBI. I'm calling your police department. I'm going to ask you to describe some bullets. Bring, 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 bring.
Oh, hello.
Yes, this is
What
Agent
happened?
Black Cat. Looking into a case number blah, 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 blah. You still have those bullets laying around?
Yeah, we got a ton, dude.
Awesome, perfect. Yes, all right. So what I'm going to need you to do, I need you to get each and every one of them out.
So
Got that? Okay.
We need a bullet lineup.
All right. Now I want you to describe each one to me. Okay, go.
I mean, that's kind of how it went.
Oh. I don't know. Shit makes no sense sometimes.
So wait, did you say that one had the roundy little head thingy or the indent head thingy? Oh, it was already mushroom-shaped thingy.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay,
man.
okay. So that's number one. Okay, so next one. You know who we're going to need to bring in? The Houston Police Department. They're good at
Yes.
this kind of...
Literally. Well, so this guy just didn't really care. He left a bunch of casings lying around the body when the police found those people in separate spots in 1990. He just left all the casings, left the bullets, didn't even care. The bullets.
To be fair, in the Southwest, the roads are littered in shell casings.
True. Yeah.
Like
People
that would be
shooting the
like
signs.
he left his cigarette butt by the side of the road. It's like, are you, yeah? That's have you looked at the side of a road?
We got him. We
That
know
is the
he's a
entirety
serial
of the
killer.
Southwest.
We
Yeah.
know he's a cigarette smoker. We got him.
Get him.
Well, what was lucky was the bullets had a unique
Bring,
mark
bring,
on them.
bring. Yes, I'm calling for the Agent D-Booz's sister.
Hello.
Do you have any cigarette butts over there?
Yes, we probably do. A bunch of
All right,
them.
I'm gonna need you to get all of them out.
Describe those buttons.
Smoke each one of them and tell me what they taste like.
Oh god.
Camel Light.
Well-
That tracks.
Well, it was lucky though. It was lucky though that these bullets were found because the bullets had a unique mark on them, right? They were very unique because not many people used them, and so they could be like, okay, I think we can pinpoint this. On each bullet, they had the
thing about
shape of a
serial
T.
killers.
They had a bullet with the shape of a T, which was actually done by the manufacturer. And you're right. It is weird about serial killers because they have unique stuff. Like it's so
Yeah.
dumb. There's always one
And
unique thing about them.
I don't feel like we're ripping on them though, like either like in hindsight where it's like they always do get something unique and that's why they get caught. Well, in reality it's like you look through possibly every possible thing and you find that one unique thing that takes you to them. Obviously, I mean that's how investigations and shit work. Or just writing down descriptions of every bullet and cigarette, and pointing at every truck in a city. But no, like it's always something like the bullet. It's like it was only manufactured between August 1st, 1970 and August 1st at 11 p.m. 1970. It's like, why did you use that?
Yeah.
How did
Rarely
you
do they
find
have
that?
anything. Yeah. Rarely do they have anything that's not unique to them. But also, I feel like, again, like we talked about earlier, they kind of like that. They like that little thing, like, oh, this is me, that calling card, you know? Well, the agent found out that Rhoades was traveling westbound, so he killed Douglas, then dumped the body, and then kept Patricia alive for 7 days, torturing and raping her. Then he killed her and dumped her body. Again, Ben Rhoades was getting close to being freed, and luckily the FBI agent had done the research to keep him in jail and find justice for those families. Because
Thanks
in
to the hard efforts
2005
of multiple police departments, we were able to piece together enough
Yeah.
evidence.
Literally, yeah.
Agent D-Booz and Agent D-Booz's sister in the back.
Thank you for all that work of looking through every single bullet. and
Brittany, you're
cigarette.
just like coughing.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
D-Booz has like horrible lead poisoning from handling all the Couldn't have done this without the local support and efforts of the local police departments.
They had to drive around too and look at each truck. They were looking at each truck and was like, "Is that the truck that did it?" No. With the skeletal remains, they were just pointing at
A
the.
cop is in the background with just his arm in a cast from pointing.
Yeah. The local efforts. Well, it was lucky that they did this because in 2005 he was tried for the death of Douglas and Patricia Walsh, and he again pled guilty to their deaths in exchange for escaping the death penalty. So again, right before he got let out. This is like in the nick of time. I feel like they're kind of just waiting to be like, oh, he's about to get out. We got to keep him in there. You know, we know that he's going to kill more people if he gets out. So they're waiting. And also they're finally getting evidence.
Strategy.
It's true.
Yeah.
And because otherwise they would just get him, multiple, life sentences. But they're finding justice for the families. But what's sad is they probably won't find justice for a lot of the families that, people that he probably did kill.
Yeah.
Well, and this way, with this second set of victims, it can be figured out his pattern of behavior. Ben Rhoades would pick people up who were hitchhiking. A lot of times it was said that he was picking up people with like mental problems and they said undesirables, but some of the people I'm looking at like that he killed and murdered, I think that's just like the police talk back in the 90s and 2000. It's sketchy. Yeah. It's not true. They were trying to paint one of the victims as like, oh, she had mental disabilities, but I think they were just looking at people who had rough times and they were trying to run away from stuff like that, and it kind of pissed me off. I was like, this is not okay. You're painting the victims as not like good people when in fact they were just probably going through a tough time with the family and wanted to leave.
That's also completely fucking irrelevant.
Yep, exactly.
It's just like it's because they all had salt and pepper hair. It's just like this is fucking irrelevant. I mean, if it's his type, it's his type, but it's also like you don't need to.
Yeah. Well, the first person that escaped also when she went back to talk to them, I didn't add this, but I'm going to add it talking now, is that she said she was going to visit the president, and they were kind of like, what do you mean? So
this was in the 90s.
Yeah. I guess you could back in the 90s. Yeah. Going to visit Clinton.
Was Clinton in office?
Clinton. Yeah, 90s. Yeah, Clinton. But it made me weird. It made me weirded about it because I was like, actually, no, that would have been Reagan, because Clinton wasn't until 92.
Bush.
Oh, Bush. Bush Senior. Yeah, Bush Senior. But it kind of made me like, they tried to paint her as it, and then the detective that was interviewing her said he looked past that and was like, it's probably just the trauma that she's been through that why she's like, and they were like, okay, so then we kept listening to her and we're like, okay, this guy
I don't care what other
actually
people
did
say.
it.
I think she's a human being.
Yeah, I think she's a person.
I could look past this and see you're capable of feelings.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I'm
Ben Rhoades'
different.
MO. Well, Ben Rhoades' MO would pick people up while they're hitchhiking. If they had another male with them, he would quickly kill the male with his gun with shots to the head. That became his MO. Then he would take the girl or woman, whoever was in this case, the victim, and he would torture and rape the women for 1 to 2 weeks in the sleeping cab of his truck. Then he would kill them and dump them off in random spots, which make it really hard to find this guy unless you just happen upon him like the state trooper did, which is kind of how a lot of serial killers are caught. They're just happened upon randomly. When people say that like police work is shoddy, sometimes it is, but sometimes the FBI detectives behind it doing all the work are doing the work so that when this guy is caught by the police randomly, they can connect all the crimes to him. And it was similar to what happened to Richard Ramirez, which was the funniest way for him, a serial killer to be arrested by the people when they were beating the crap out of him. And he ran to the police to get us away from the people that were beating him up because he was murdering the people in these communities. And it was all the people in that, I think it was a Latin community at that time. And they were like beating the crap out of him with like spatulas. And it was like almost the most...
just 10,000 chanclas just flying through the air from every direction.
Yeah, it was so great. That was actually one of the favorite
Every
things to
mom's sandal was just fucking woof. Just like arrows flying over a battlefield.
Yeah. Well, Rhoades' MO said that it was likely and theorized that he had killed up to 45 people, mostly hitchhiking women and sex workers, which you know, as we talk about, sometimes they're just the undesirables, the, you know, what they say, do DNIs, do not investigates on them.
Yeah, they think people aren't gonna miss them.
Which is terrible, and that's why he got away. We think that he got away, and they think that also because of the photographs that they saw. They found hundreds of photographs, but they never really were able to ID most of the women, which is the sad part of it. Well, this is just the murders they think he committed, not counting most likely the dozens of rapes that he also most likely committed as well. And like I said or not, like I said earlier, it was because of the Polaroids that he took. As soon as they got into his cab, he would take a Polaroid of them. So that's how they ID'd some of them. Well, in 1985, a woman named Pamela Milliken, we're going back in time again because we have to tell this story. She was hitchhiking down the road trying to find her brother and was picked up by Ben Rhoades. He then pointed to a sign that said, "Cash, grass, or ass. No one rides for free." Milliken said she didn't have any money, nor did she smoke pot. So I'm not going to say consensually, because this is not really consensual. She was pretty much forced because of that. Had sex with him. She did say it was consensual, though, but that's not.
Right.
She
Yeah.
said it in her, when she was talking about it, but I don't think that it was. It was basically forced. Well, eventually she was lucky because she was dropped off, otherwise unharmed, at a bus stop in Winnipeg. The reason that she knew she got in the cab with him, she found in 2015, scrolling Facebook, saw a picture posted of a Polaroid on a friend's wall of an 18-year-old girl wearing a gray hoodie, looking tired in the passenger seat of a truck. She immediately realized, that's me in that picture. And then she called the police. In
Wow.
2015, saw that picture. And she was like, I was lucky that I wasn't also a victim of this guy.
Right.
Wasn't a murder victim of this guy, right? So
What? Was she just not young enough, probably?
she was 18. Yeah, I think so. I don't know, because most of the other two girls were 14. So
Yeah.
maybe his MO was murdering.
Like young girls.
Yeah, and it could be also that he wasn't murdering people at this time because he was driving in Canada at that time, and maybe he was building up to it, because it was earlier on in his time. It was in like the 1970s.
Oh, okay.
And he didn't get caught for his first murder until like 1990. So I think he was slowly building up to it, and eventually in the 80s he probably started killing. Just looking
Sex with
outside
them
in on
was
the
no longer
situation.
satisfying. He needed to take it to the next level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's why. He did tell people he took the photographs so that they wouldn't steal from him, and he knew if somebody stole something, he would, have a picture of them, which is just the easiest way to get a picture. Be like, like, I'm taking a picture of you because if you steal something from my cab, I'll know it's you.
Yep.
And so she was super lucky that she did not get murdered, which is weird to say. Well, Rhoades is actually still alive. He is 78 years old and is still in jail and will be until he dies. He earned the name the Truck Stop Killer. And thanks to all those FBI agents that did, and detectives and police officers that did all that work. Thank you to the state trooper that randomly caught him and then didn't let him get away again. In these set of murder cases that spanned across 15 years, connecting bodies and murders to Robert Ben Rhoades, there are still bodies out there that could be because of Rhoades. Ricky Lee Jones' murder, the one we talked about earlier, was not even actually tied or connected to Rhoades or even, gone to trial, because even though it's pretty much agreed that he killed him, and because of his MO, and he murdered Regina Walters, which was his girlfriend, he just they couldn't get the evidence to pin that to him. So he got off scot-free on that murder. He's still going to be in jail for the rest of his life, but the family has no
But the family,
justice for us. Yeah. Well, It makes me wonder how many more serial killers are lurking the highways nowadays, and if the person behind delivering my laptop to the store that I am on right now is guilty of heinous crimes.
You never
That's
know.
it. And we'll see you next week.
We gotta introduce her. We gotta.
I know. Well, yeah, I'm going to add that in later. But we also wanted to, yeah, I'm just going to flip this and put it up at the beginning. So,
Wild
I
man.
want, yep. All right, guys. You want to tell us about your podcast you're starting?
We've already started it. We have one
Oh,
episode out already.
Oh, okay. Well, tell us
Yeah.
about your first episode. Tell us about what the, how it
Yeah.
started, what it's going, like how it's going on.
So I did a podcast last year by myself, a true crime podcast, and I loved it. But I have 4 kids, a full-time job, so I think I tried to go in like doing too much at once, like, and so it just got to be too much, and so I just kind of quit. And
And the podcast was doing really well. Like, it was getting
Yeah.
really good reviews, and people were like, "When's the next episode coming out?" Like, I was able to post it on Good Pods, and then like the first week, it was like number 10 in like True Crime Podcast. Like, it was doing
No,
really good.
I listened. It was really fucking good, and I was pretty bummed out when he stopped, which is why I was so stoked when like Damion hit
Yeah.
me up and he's like, "Hey, my sister's starting another one, and I'm joining." I was like, "Fuck yes!"
yeah, no, I love it because I just love the true crime genre. I just think it's so intriguing to just learn about all the different things, and so Damion had kind of like mentioned that maybe I should start it again, like a hobby just for me, because I'm such a mom, do all the things for my kids, and he was like, you need something just for you, something that's just yours, that you love. And I was like, okay, well, you should do it with me.
Yeah. That seems to run in the family, that
Yeah.
reaction to things, because
Yeah.
that's how Beer Booze Boogeyman started. Was Damion was like, "I'm thinking about getting back into a podcast. I don't know what to do."
Yeah.
Kristen and I were like, "How about this?" And he's like, "Great. When are we doing this?"
Yeah.
We're like, "What the fuck?" But
Yeah.
no, so something, and I've seen that you're carrying this over to Bloodlines, Bloodshed, right? You're carrying this tradition over, but something that I really loved about the short run in your previous podcast was you do pretty much the exact same, like you focus in the same area that we focus in like serial killers and stuff. You find actually you go even like way the fuck smaller. Like we go micro sometimes, but you go like micro, like atomic sometimes, where you're like, here's this super fucking tiny town in the middle of absolutely fucking nowhere that you probably never heard of and probably never drove through, and here's this major fucking case that no one's talking about, and you just start like breaking it down. And so like honestly, to me, like and this is something that I love from your last show and that I know you bring into this new show, is that like you're an actual resource for other podcasters that do go on like the crazy deep dives and stuff like that take things, like it's so hard to find folks that are doing original, research into cases. And you do great at that. I was like, Jesus Christ, how have I never heard of any of these cases like on your show?
Yeah, I like that though. I like the ones that no one talks about, that need to be talked about more. I like those. The one we just did is, I guess it was popular, but I had never heard of it. It was the Sauter children, the disappearance of the Sauter children. Have y'all heard of that
I
one?
had never heard of it before.
No,
It
I had
popped
never
up
heard
as
of it
your first
either.
episode.
Yeah, but when I did the research, I mean, there was a lot of research on it. So it was, but it was a crazy one. But I just love stuff like that. I think it is
Oh yeah.
the actual best.
And do you plan on like where do you mostly focus in terms of your episodes? Is it just like small rural America, metropolises and cities internationally? You know, like where's your general focus or like leaning around that?
Yeah. So I think the majority of the ones that I do will be like, I'm gonna try to keep them like smaller, more unheard of cases. I do like the big cases, like you know, John Benet Ramsey. Like I love all those
Yeah.
types, but those are just, I feel like they're already so done.
Overplayed.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a whole lot that I could say about that someone else hasn't already said. So
I found the serial killer that you might like too, and a book that goes with it. I don't know if you've heard of Milton Johnson.
mm-mm.
Okay, you should look into that guy. I think he killed killing spree of like 5-ish people. I'll send you the book too. I tried to read it and tried to get into it, and then it was hard for me. I don't know why. But otherwise, yeah, it seems
Okay.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did Joey's audio just drop, or was that me? Did he get quiet? It was just me.
I heard him.
Yeah, it's fine on my
No, I
end.
mean I could hear him, but it sounded like his volume went.
No. Well,
Okay, it's just me. I'm okay with it being just me. That's why I asked. But, no. So that's like, yeah. I mean, sometimes like those bigger cases, it's the podcast version of getting up with an acoustic guitar and be like, all right, everybody, this is Freebird. You know? It's just
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
Come on, bro. Next, we're gonna do Wonderwall.
Yeah.
The
They're
air
going
supply all night after that. You know, like it's just like okay, dude. Like.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what? Oh, were you gonna say something?
I was just gonna say it was funny when she like asked me to join in with her because like the next day she messaged me a bunch of different like titles and I already knew what she was hinting around at without her even saying. I was like, "Are you wanting me to join you?" And she's like, "Yeah, I think it'd be fun for us to do." Blah blah blah. And I'm like, "Look, it's like I already do 2. You know, given the one I only do once a month, but I'm already doing 2. I was like, if I do it, it's 2 conditions that we got to agree to. I get to name it, and we get to record on the days I record Life Beyond 6 Feet. And she was like, "Okay, I agree to that." And we tossed around several different names because we wanted something in the title that people kind of knew that we were brother and sister. Mm-hmm. So I tossed around.
Bloodshed?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, the bloodlines part. Okay.
Yeah.
No bloodshed.
I was like, the and? I don't know. I mean, if it was my sister, if it was me and my sister, it'd be bloodshed. Sorry.
But I'd tossed out, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 different names. I was like, here's what I've come up with, and I was like, pick the one you like the best. So technically, I guess we kind of both named it. Like she made the ultimate final decision, and we just kind of went from there. So, and I'd never really done true crime before, as you guys know. I'm strictly with the paranormal stuff, and yeah, hold on. What are you grunting for? Mama just got
Mom's home.
and
Bringing light to the left there. Dude.
right. And so it's been kind of different for me, even though I haven't done my first official episode yet. So it's different for me.
Yeah, you're kind of like learning the stories behind the ghosts now, which is
Right.
Yes, that's what I said. Yes, he wouldn't have his ghost stories if there was no true crime stories.
exactly
I mean,
Well,
Some
I
of
mean,
them.
yeah, I guess whatever, but still,
a
The
fair
intro.
share.
yeah.
right.
You both looking at each other one way and then looking away from each other and then being like, true crime, ghosts, they don't connect in life and death.
It's just that like
But they
meme
do.
of like like the arms like locked like the fists.
Yeah. That's true. I mean, yeah, they do connect.
Tragic death down the middle.
Yeah. So how you guys are doing your podcast bi-weekly, right? So every 2 weeks going to be
Yep.
releasing? Perfect. Do you guys have a topic for your second one?
Second one's gonna be mine, and we're gonna take turns. One episode it'll be hers, and I'm just kind of listening and chiming in. To the next episode, It'll be mine, and she'll listen and kind of chime in. I had one picked out
And get changed.
and done a lot of research into it, and it was just the same stuff being regurgitated. And I'm like, I don't think I can turn this into an episode because there really wasn't much about it. So now I'm having to find something else to research and try to turn into an episode before next Sunday when we record it.
D-Booze has
know that we
officially
know that.
entered the research game.
Yeah, good
Oh.
luck.
Meanwhile, I've already got my
boy.
next one written. Just saying.
Dang.
And I'm a mother of 4. No big deal. No big deal.
No big deal. How can we find the podcast as well? Let us know. Where can we find it?
You can look it up on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Bloodlines and Bloodshed. We don't have it out on all formats right now. We have it on Spotify, iHeartRadio. I can't even remember all of them. Pandora, I think it's on there. Amazon. I know most people listen to like Spotify, so that's probably the biggest one it's on right now. But I'm slowly working it up and getting it on to more and more. So
Hell yeah.
Cool.
And I'm sure y'all do take requests for what platform if people hit you up on socials.
yeah.
Yes. Or we have an email as well. It's bloodlinesandbloodshed@gmail.com.
Awesome. Make sure to get that in the show notes.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. And are you guys going to be just like, I guess, like, final question here? I guess, is this going to be like a seasonal? Is this going to be like seasonal podcast, or is it going to be every single week for eternity, or like what? How are things being set up around that? Or have you even planned it out and you're just kind of jumping in?
I think we're just going to go kind of play it by ear.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll probably break it down into seasons and do X
Yeah.
amount of episodes and probably take, a month off or something and then kind of jump back into it. But
Yeah.
kind of like I do Life Beyond 6 Feet, do X amount of episodes, take a month and a half off and then jump back in.
And if people say people live in small town rural America and they know about cases that have
Yes.
happened, do you want them to reach out to you, or maybe be like, this would be the perfect episode for D-Booze, for Damion, this would be a perfect episode for Brittany, is that something that y'all want?
Yes.
Or-
That would be awesome.
Awesome. And that's bloodlines and bloodshed@gmail.com, right?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for being with us on this episode. Seriously.
Yes. Thanks for having us.
You guys are the best. Yeah. And
Yeah, it's been
thank
fun.
you to all out there. And Gil?
Bye.
Bye.